Hello everybody, today we're doing a video for GTA Car Kits in a 2017 Porsche Macan, and today we're going to be showing you how to install our CarPlay module on this vehicle. As you can see, it's already installed and you have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which you didn't have before. So it supports original controls and you're able to do it through the original touchscreen. As you can see, everything is working, and if you want to go back to your original system, you just press the Navi button and you come back to the original Porsche system and nothing has been modified or lost. Your reverse camera will still work, so if you put the vehicle in reverse, nothing gets disabled and it goes back to CarPlay. And now we're gonna go ahead and show you how to install it. So the tools that you're gonna need are these keys to remove the radio, and they come with our kit: flathead screwdriver, panel removal tool. This is another type of panel removal tool, T20 Torx. So first we're gonna start with our keys for radio removal. We're gonna open this compartment under the radio, and here you're gonna see two slots. So you're gonna insert the key, not all the way, so the flat edge will be towards the passenger. Another flat edge is gonna be towards the driver. Once you insert them, we're gonna take our little tool here and we're gonna carefully grab on the edge, remove the radios. Helpful would be to cover all the buttons here because you don't want to risk scratching anything. And at this point you can just remove the keys. I'm gonna carefully pull out this unit. Once you pull it out, we're gonna disconnect it. So we're gonna start from the main harness. There's a clip there and disconnects. And then you're just gonna go by every connection and press on the clips, and that way you're able to disconnect all of them. So now we're left with these three. So again, you're just gonna press on the clips and remove them. At this point, you can put the radio away. So at this point, once we remove the radio, we're gonna work our way around and we're gonna remove the vents, and then we're gonna drop the glove box, because our goal is to feed all the wires, because there's very little space here. So we're gonna have to hide our module behind the glove box, including with all the wiring. So it has to be hidden. So that's the best place we found on this particular car. So what we have here is a coat hanger that we just bent the edge of it. So that's the tool that we're gonna use to remove this vent, and there's no other way to do it. Porsche sells some tools, or people use a spring tool, but we're just gonna be using a coat hanger, which everybody has access to. So we're gonna first pull from the, so I'll show you after where we're inserting this tool. So we insert it on the edge there. So once we do the top edge, we carefully gonna do one of the lower edges. So as you can see, it's already getting released. And now we're gonna do this edge. And as you can see, the vent is already kind of loose, and it means it's out of its clips. So once we take out our tool, now we're gonna continue with a panel removal tool and our hands. So I'm just gonna grab the vent, and so once you get to about this edge, there's a clip that holds everything in, and I'll show you once I remove this where that clip is. So once we have it here, we're gonna work our way down. And again, we're gonna use our fingers to remove everything. Pull the vents out. There's gonna be two connections. On each vent there's a connection. So what I was telling you before, so there's this clip here, and there's no way that it will just come out. So we were using our tool, and I just basically pressed on it, and it released. And when we're using our hook tool, we're grabbing the edges here, and if you can see here, this rubber might come out, so you just put it back. At this point, you can put the vents away. So at this point, we're going to remove these 3 bolts, and we're going to be using our T20, and we're going to be using our screwdriver. And if you cannot get it, if it's too tight, then you can use a ratchet. But these ones seem to be pretty loose, so we can do it by this style. So now we're going to open the glove box, and there's another 2 bolts here. One's here. One is over there. Same thing, we're going to remove them with our T20. So these are the 2 bolts that we removed from inside of the glove box. So with the passenger door open, we're going to use our panel removal tool. And we're going to unclip this panel. And when we're going to be putting it back, you got to just make sure you put this edge in first. But once you remove it, you're going to see there's another T20 here, which we also have to remove. And now there's 2 more T20s. They're under. There's one right here, and there's one all the way down here. So the glove box has this trim which unclips. We're just gonna pull on it. So our goal here is to get to another 3 bolts. So there's 1, 2, and 3 right here. And here it helps to get to this one if you open the door, so this panel has more room to move. And with this last bolt removed, the whole glove box assembly can come down. We're gonna just drop it a little bit lower. And at this point, we have all the space to hide the module. So first, we're gonna take our main harness, and we're gonna plug it in to our original connection, which we removed from the back of the stereo. So when you're putting it back, you gotta make sure that the clip is open, and then you lock it in. And then this one will be going to our stereo instead of the original one. And in between, this is for our harness. One side will be plugging into the module, and this side we're gonna have to plug in here. So this wire is the one we're gonna first run to the back here. We're gonna run this wire through, and it just plugs in to the harness right here. Next, we're gonna run the auxiliary wire, this end which will go to the module. This is where you have to plug in the auxiliary. It says auxiliary out, and now we have to run it the same way behind. So once you have the auxiliary here, we're just gonna plug it in on this side, and it will say auxiliary in. Next, we're gonna run the 2 video cables. So these video cables, there's one gray one and one pink one, and the ends that are straight will be going into our module, and the ends which have one has a female and the other one is going on an angle, these are going to be at the back of the stereo. So we're gonna run both of them. So once we have these 2 wires here for the video, we're gonna connect our green one to the gray one. So this is the original cable that we removed from the back of the radio. And this one will now replace its place and go to the back of the stereo. So this is our original stereo, and we're gonna start plugging everything in. So like I said, this is the wire that we ran, and we'll go into the green one instead. And these are the antennas. So everything is plug and play, same way you unplugged it initially. So now we're gonna take this main harness for the stereo. And again, the clip has to be open when you're putting it in. You lock it in place. And then the last one is this one for audio. And at this point, you can start putting the stereo back. So you just gotta make sure to maneuver this harness, which you didn't have before, around so it's not in the way. So when you're putting it back, you can use these wires which we pulled in order to make some space. So you pull them towards the glove box, that way they're not behind the radio. And as you can see, once you pull them in, there's going to be enough space to just click the radio in. So once the radio is inside, we're now going to continue with doing all the connections to our module, and we're going to do it above the original glove box. So here we have our module. So we have already attached the Wi-Fi antenna. Now we're going to do the connections which we pulled through. So this is the LCD out. So we're just going to connect it to the green one. And this one is the LCD in. And this is the main harness, and it connects to the module here. We're gonna do the rest of the connections that you're supposed to attach to the module, and that would be the microphone. So this microphone is used to control Siri, because you're still going to be using original Bluetooth to do phone calls and so on. So this is just to do Siri or Google Assistant if you're using Android Auto. There's few places to put in this car, and we want to keep it hidden. So one place is to put it inside one of the vents here. And that way, once you put everything back, it just stays inside the vent and it's not going to be seen by anybody. Or you can run it to the glove box, and that's what we're going to do, because the glove box has original opening at the back of the glove box. And same with this last wire that you have to connect, and this one to do the CarPlay or Android Auto by wire. In this particular car, we're going to run it right here. These two connect, one connects to the USB portion, and the microphone connects to the microphone. So here we ran the microphone through. As you can see, we're using the hole over there at the back. So again, microphone, you're just gonna plug it into the microphone slot. And at this point, you're gonna have all the wires on the inside here. So there's plenty of space above the actual glove box. So what you can do is you can use some Velcro to just Velcro it to this fabric here and have the module resting here. And like I said, this wire for wired portion of the USB, which is gonna have here. Or you can also take this module and zip tie it to the metal part right here. So we mounted the module, like we said, over here, and we used zip ties. And now the only cable that is hanging is this one, and we nicely tucked all the other wires. And now we're gonna test it to make sure everything is working before we put everything back. So we're gonna test it by our wired connection first before we set up wireless. So before we do the testing, the last thing you gotta plug in is this auxiliary plug, which you just plug into the stock auxiliary. So now we just turned on the ignition, and like I mentioned before, we're gonna do it by wire first time. So we're just gonna plug it in. So it starts charging. It's a good sign. So as you can see, CarPlay launched. So in order to switch to the original mode, you just press the nav button. So you have to choose the source as auxiliary, because that's where CarPlay is going to play sound through. So we're going to go back to CarPlay. As you can see, touchscreen is working. So we're going to play some music. And the sound is playing, so it means it's working. So once we tested everything, made sure everything is working properly, we're gonna put everything back. So first step, you're gonna line up the glove box and to make sure that everything lines up. And first you're gonna do the inner bolts here. So once these three bolts are installed, now we're gonna put this panel back. It clips on top. You gotta make sure you're not jamming these two wires. And this is the USB which we told you about earlier, so we're gonna keep it here. Once it clicks back in place, now we're gonna reinstall these bolts. So now once you put the top bolts, now you have 2 bolts left in the glove box. Then we're gonna put 2 more underneath, 1 more here on the side, and then you're gonna put this panel back. So now we're gonna install back the vents. So you gotta make sure to connect your original connections back, and here there's slots for them. That way this wire is not in the way of anything. This is the one on closer to the driver. So when you're installing it back, we're gonna do it the same way. You first do this one, and then you work your way down. So with the vents installed, now at this point you completed the installation, and now you have CarPlay installed on your Porsche Macan. So I hope you liked the video, and we'll see you next time.